Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the One Point Safety Show. Slightly earlier this week, but yeah, I'm gratefully joined by my co-host Scouse Andy. How are you, mate? All right?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. How are things with you?
All good, mate. In my house, yeah, everything's ticking along. Weather's getting better, which is a good thing. And yeah, work's kicking my ass. But apart from that, it's all good, mate. It's all good. We'll start as we always do, Scouts, with our sponsors. So this year we are delighted to be Dunstable Town FC's Talk of the Town podcast sponsor. If you can want to talk about non-league football, go across and find them on YouTube on the Talk of the Town podcast. We're also graciously sponsored by Oddballs. You can go across to myoddballs.com. Go and have a look at their stuff. They've also got a 50% sale on at the moment. I think there's quite a few nifty new boxer shorts on there. You can also buy our gear on there as well. So if you want to go ahead and have a look at them, that'd be great. Myoddballs.com, and 50% of all proceeds go to men's cancer charities. We're also delighted to be sponsored by Fusion Therapeutics. You can find them on fusiontherapeutics.co.uk. They provide expert MSK assessments and treatment with a focus on holistic care dedicated to improve your well-being through tailored musculoskeletal health plans. The team offer specialist injection therapy and non-medical independent prescribing. So if you're in the Northwest, Manchester or Cheshire area, give the team a call on 01606 512 013 or book online, and the team will be happy to advise you further on this affordable treatment solution. That's the reads over with, mate. So on to the news, bud. The first bit of the news this week is that Jayden Daniels is obviously the Pepsi Rookie of the Year, which we're very excited to announce. Did you see he got an absolutely massive trophy as well? It was properly bizarre. It looked like something out of like the Stanley Cup. It was mental. But now, fair play. We knew it was gonna happen. So yeah, man, it's all good, all good. And then the only other thing
to be expected.
Oh, massively expected, massively expected.
He was by far he's probably he was. I think he was genuinely in the top 3-4 quarterbacks of the whole season. Never mind rookies. So
I think so too.
So for me, it was a no-brainer.
Yeah, so, I mean, look at this. Ian, your brother Ian Lockhart says, Scott, do you like Gerrard linked to your team the other day? Yeah, he was linked the other day to my team, Carlisle United, who sacked their manager. We now have a new manager in charge today. It is Mark Hughes, ex-Manchester United footballer, and obviously...
I mean, I don't know who else you'd want. Do you want Gerrard, who's an awful manager, or do you want Mark Hughes, who's just as bad as a manager? So,
well, apparently they did go for Stevie G, but there was tax implications around his previous employer. So had he decided to take a job with us, it would mean that he would have to pay over £1 million in back taxes to Saudi, which obviously not a good thing. So, and we weren't going to pay that for him. So,
especially when you're paying a guy like 20 grand a year, probably.
No, probably a bit more than that, mate. Let's be honest. We've got multi-millionaire owners. In fact, our owner is a billionaire, so who owns 22. He owns 22% of the Jacksonville Jaguars franchise. So there you go. It is what it is.
£1 million, couldn't he, to Gerrard? Couldn't he?
Probably, but there you go. Thanks to Jesse, thanks to Cam, thanks to Ian for being with us. We appreciate you. We understand that it is early, so thank you for being in the chat. And to all those listening, we appreciate you downloading and listening as always. So Josh Harris had his press conference, Scouts, his end of the season press conference. The big talking points from the press conference was obviously no name change. We're going to stick with the Commanders as it is at the moment. There's going to be some tweaks to the uniform with a nod to the past. And then there was a bit of a stadium update where he said it's most likely going to be in DC without saying it's going to be in DC. And he didn't rule out, obviously, Maryland as well. He said, they've put money on the table. So we'll go through these points one by one, I suppose. So what's your thoughts on, obviously, no name change?
To be expected. When you... As I think I mentioned on the bunker this week, it was a case of now that we've actually got some sort of winning season with the Commanders, like we can, as fans, we can associate winning with the Commanders now. Why would they change it? Do you know what I mean? So even if it isn't the best of names, it is what it is. It's never going back to the old one, even though I'm still a fan. I still want to go back to that, but it never will happen. And I think. As fans, we've just got to kind of, learn to love Commander's name and brand. I don't think it's going to change again. I don't see the point in it now, because say now they've got that winning kind of. We won 12 games this year, the most to say like the most since '91. When we went all the way. So I just think it's just one of them things. So I'm just going to kind of live with it.
Yeah, I mean, it is strange, isn't it? I mean, it's one of them where, yes, ideally we'd all want the old name back. We get that, we understand that, but unfortunately it's one of them things we're going to have to accept as this is our name moving forward. And that's what we're going to stick to. Winning changes everything. We've said this many a time, as has everybody else in the fan base. If you're a winning organisation, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. There's still the odd few who will harp on and keep going on and on about it until, like they're always picking at a scab continually. Unfortunately, it's just not going to change back. And we get that. We understand the reasons behind it and why. But winning culture and winning on the field changes everything. As I said, it only takes probably 5 years, of consistent playoff appearances, winning, superstars on the field like Jaden, the electricity that's surrounded him this season, and others on the field. It only takes that little bit of a winning run for people to forget things and then realise that actually there's a new generation of fans coming around who won't know any different. And by the time we're sitting here in probably 10 years' timescales, no one will really give a shit. I mean, there'll always be the nod back to the past, which I appreciate, and I get that, especially when you're looking at tweaking uniforms and the like. But we're not going to change the name back, so there's nothing we can really do about it. At the end of the day, we just got to get on with what's on there. The logo, slightly different. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I've been calling for this for a long time. I've trying to get the emblem back, the logo back of some sort. One of the old versions that we've had. Because obviously, WW is okay, but it doesn't really give you that true kind of love of a brand. You know what I mean? Like, you look at a Nike tick, it's Nike.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? You look at the 3 stripes, it's Adidas or Adidas, whatever you want to say it. They've got that brand, they've got that kind of logo, and that makes a brand even better. So for me, yeah, you can still live with the W. I wear W, whatever. But the thing is, it'd be better if we could get one of those old school logos back, either the Redskin head, the Indian head, or if we can't get that because it might be a little bit too,
PC, culturally, yeah.
Maybe the spear we could have. Maybe have something like that. That'd be really nice to get that because it'll give people who love the team from 20, 30, 40 years ago, they'll still have that kind of feel with the new brand, if that makes sense. So for me, I want something like that. But we have to see what Josh comes up with.
Yeah, I listened to you guys on the bunker, and shout out to Andy and Jesse, who's also in our chat, and you had a really good conversation on this the other day. And Jesse was spot on with what he was saying. When you look at Houston being the Oilers, is it the Texans that are the Oilers, or is it I can't remember which one it is. It's either the Texans or
went the other way around, didn't it? I think it's
Houston are the Oilers.
Houston Oilers, wasn't it? But then they moved. They went to Tennessee.
That's right. Yeah,
they moved to Tennessee, and then they actually made a new franchise of Houston Texans. So it's weird, isn't it? It's just like
when they throw it back, it's like I get it. They're wearing. They're wearing the old uniform, the different colours. It's like, oh, okay, this is pretty cool. And then you think to yourself, we could do something like that in a throwback uniform. It's the Tennessee Titans that are the Oilers. So I had to get that right. So yeah, it says Tennessee Titans become the Oilers for one game a season. I think we can do that too. We can not necessarily look back and go, oh, we're going to be the Redskins, but have, as you said, a spear. Old school looking uniforms. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. And I think
we could have that right now. I think we could make it as close as to the old school Redskins. What you call it? Jerseys and
branding. Branding. Yeah.
Uniform. The old school uniform that everyone associates with the Redskins. You can still wear that. Obviously, you can't have the Redskins logos on it or the name, but maybe get it as close as possible. You know what I mean? I think that would be the kind of like a good kind of compromise.
Agreed. Yeah, I agree with you. So stadium update then. Obviously, Josh did talk about the stadium. He kind of harped on a lot about DC, saying that ideally is I'm not going to put words into his mouth. He didn't officially say, yes, we're going to DC. He did talk about the process of obviously going to the White House and having the bill signed off so that it can go back into DC government land rather than being on federal land. But it's now up to Josh Harris and the team, the ownership group, to go through and negotiate what they can with the DC Council and work it out from there. Obviously, he did say that he would still look for 2030 as an ideal time to move into a new stadium. So realistically, if you're looking at that, spades kind of need to be in the ground by next year, I would suggest, is kind of where we're looking at, especially with the amount of asbestos and other issues that they've got currently at the RFK Stadium. So it's going to take a long while to clean that up before you even look at building and looking at that. We saw the rendering. Scouse, me and you saw that. We retweeted it, had a good look at it. It looked. If it was something like that, I mean, it's in our thumbnail for all those who want to have a look on YouTube. It looks epic. And if it comes out of something like that, or even close to that, I would be delighted if we have a new stadium that looks similar to that. What are your thoughts on all this stadium talk then?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's no way in hell that Josh Harris has worked out like so hard to try and get this bill passed before Biden left. To make it say to change that land from federal back to local owned land, without him genuinely believing that this is where he wants to be. Now, I understand from his point of view when he's being interviewed by it, or from the interview, it's like, well, what about this? And he's not going to show his hand, is he? Let's face it, because
he's not. Yeah,
that's going to lowball himself in the leverage stakes. So that doesn't work. So that's why he was always like, we still got Maryland and we can still do a bit of this and a bit of that and blah, 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 and just kept it kind of bit general, a bit vague to a certain extent. But he also needed DC to be involved. As he said, he needed them to be at the table. Because again, leverage-wise, where's the leverage? If DC weren't involved, all you've got is Maryland and Virginia potentially.
Yeah.
So it's only two people who potentially could be interested. Now you've got three, and you've got where we were. You know what I mean? We're back to our homeland. The cool thing about being at DC and having the RFK, even though it's been derelict for so long, the old RFK Stadium is the cool thing is that you can technically build a brand new stadium on that site. Normally when you lose a stadium, 20, 30 years ago, whatever it was, normally that's knocked down, houses are built or hotels are built or whatever. This is different. You've still got the potential of putting it exactly where it was. And I think that is, as a fan, of course, Josh Harris, he is a fan as well. I think deep down he wants DC, but he's obviously going to leverage them all as best he can, being honest. And
I agreed.
And he's a good businessman. He can't be as rich as him without being good. So
exactly, and you're absolutely spot on with what you're saying there. And I mean, again, I heard you talking about it on other pods and the bunker and other and in our chat and in and around socials. I've seen a lot of talk on this, and it's about who's obviously coming to the table with a lot of money as well. And now I get that taxpayers' money necessarily shouldn't fund a stadium. I don't believe in that. I don't think it should. I think, that if it funds infrastructure around it to bring jobs to the area, then that's completely fair enough. But I don't think it should fund actual, seats and roofs and whatever else. That's not what we're asking for here. It's about building up the area around the stadium to have. I did like the part he talked about it being a 24/7, evolving thing where you can have concerts, you can have NFL, you can have, everything else in there.
I think that's the way it has to go, just because
it's got to,
nowadays. You can't just be a football stadium that you only use it for 4 or 5 months of the year. You can't do that. These stadiums now cost us too much money. You got. Especially if you're going to compete, you're competing with the brand new stadiums of,
the Raiders, SoFi,
the Raiders, and they're like $2 billion stadiums, So it's going to be something similar to us. It might even cost us more because we'll need a roof. I know. SoFi has got a roof on it.
Yeah, SoFi was about 2.4 bill. So I think that
a lot of them they're not translucent. I think ours will be translucent. You see, I think it'll be let the actual And I think that costs more. So, and again, obviously DC, everything's more expensive.
DC prices, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
everything's more expensive there. So, especially because land is at a premium in DC, that's the other thing. So, whereas, in Vegas, yeah, they're at the bottom of the strip, but there was nothing there. It was just desert.
No,
you know what I mean. So it was the land was reasonably cheap, even though it was on the strip.
And that still costs $2 billion. That yeah.
So exactly. So what's it going to cost? So we know it's going to be very expensive. I think personally it could be a $3 billion stadium, but
yeah, I think that's about how much it's going to be.
I mean, even if you got, so when you're looking at kind of getting like taxpayers funding, local funding, and exactly what you said, it shouldn't be for the stadium or any of the foundation or anything to do with the stadium. It should be, as you said, the infrastructure around it, improving the metro lines, maybe making extra lines, whatever, all these different things. But end of the day, 500 million, even though it's a lot of money, in the grand scheme of 3 billion, it's not a lot of money. You see what I mean? It is a drop in the ocean, unfortunately, So, but I think, I think any businessman would do the same thing. At the end of the day, it's going to cost you 3 billion. Who's going to give me enough money to be able to make it happen? Okay, and it's like, yes, he's got his 20 or 30 mini owners, whatever he's got, which obviously will all put money in. But then it's kind of a case of, well, now let's see if we can get anything from the government, And I think that's just the way unfortunately, every stadium works that way. Every businessman would do the same thing.
Yeah, now I know for stadiums the NFL will always give you a loan towards that, and I think it's in upwards of 300 million is the loan that you get. But
that's nothing really in the grand scheme.
All I'm saying there is, if you can imagine that you get maybe 500 mil off the taxpayer as such, off the government, and then you get not the federal government but even local government, and then you get 300 mil off the NFL, you're almost a third, aren't you, realistically? And if that can go towards if that all goes towards the external side of it, then the rest of it, the other 2 billion, will be on on the actual stadium itself. And it's obviously going to be an evolving beast. I mean, if you look at SoFi and you look at all the other stadiums that are being constructed, they are expensive.
Yeah, they're very expensive, and that's the reason why it is going to be a 24-hour thing, as you said before. It's going to be, it's going to be concerts. It's going to be, UFC fights. There's going to be all sorts of things.
The draft. Do you know what I mean? Them sort of things. Yeah.
Going to be there, and and that should be exciting for a DC, even DMV area. It should be really, really exciting for I say, not just Redskins fans or Commanders fans, even just people who just live in DC. DC is a very metropolitan area, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who travel there or work there who aren't from the DMV.
Well, it's a transient city, isn't it? It's a transient city. Is kind of how it is. Yeah.
And that's the thing. You see, it's kind of, so again, you do see a lot of Ravens fans there. You see a lot of LA fans but they just live in DC because of the jobs. So. You will attract all those people as well. Not just go to watch the games, but as I say, about concerts and big events. Even things like WrestleMania, for example, and stuff like that. I mean, these things will get filled. People, Americans love American wrestling, even though some people think it's a lot of crap. But they will sell that out. WrestleManias or big, massive events like that will get sold out, and you can hold 60, 70, 80,000, including the
exactly
ground. As in people natural
grounds, ground tickets. I know what you mean.
These things are. I say it's all about. Unfortunately, it is business. End of the day, it's got to be financially viable for everybody. We know, where we're at now is falling apart, and the spend's probably close to 200 million now. To be fair,
I know it's crazy, isn't it?
Trying to keep it going, and then. It's holding on for dear life. It's going to last. I say it would be lucky if it lasts another 5 years. Being honest, it isn't. There's already a lot of the top shelf all been cordoned off, isn't there? The seats at the top. And you could say that's probably because of not as many fans, but a lot of times as well, that's because they can't maintain it. Do you know what I mean?
I get that.
So
Ian said here, you said it's got loan from the NFL. That won't happen. The money, their money for nothing. I actually think it will happen, mate. I'm trying to be as nice as I can there, because the Raiders got a loan, as did the Rams and the Chargers, for the building of the stadium. So both of them brand new stadiums have received loans.
As well. The NFL's a multi-billion-dollar company.
Exactly that.
So 300 million, even 500 million for them, it's nothing either. To loan it out to somebody. And but was it interesting, or is it more? Is it actually quite?
I don't know. I don't know. Honestly, don't know. The other thing we're forgetting here as well is, and I know Jesse has spoke about this before, is the land that we currently own, obviously in Richmond. You know what I mean? At Virginia, at the training centre, all of that land that is there right now, that is ours, is worth a premium, and there's a lot of data centers in and around that area, and it is actually quite pricey. So when you picture how much that would be if you were to sell that land, I don't know how much you're going to get back, but this might not hit the pockets as hard as we think it's going to hit this ownership group's pockets. So I'm not sure how much you get back.
So a question for you there, mate. What would you actually do? As in, if you were Josh Harris and you said, okay, yeah, you want RFK and you get RFK and you start building the stadium, and then you mentioned Ashburn there, that kind of like, it's
sorry, Ashburn. I apologise, Jesse. I don't know why I said Richmond. Sorry.
It's worth a lot of money, as you say, because a lot of data centers are going to be are going up around there, and obviously that's prime land for that area, because data centers is about AI, isn't it? That's what it's about. These data centers.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah,
and they need massive amounts of electricity, so they can only be in certain parts, if that makes sense. So it's prime land for AI, because of the other things that have been built around Ashburn. So yeah, as you say, you can probably sell that for maybe even $1 billion. You might even
exactly. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, something in and around there.
So if you get something like crazy money like that, there's $1 billion. Then, as you mentioned before, we get 500 million, from the government, and then you get, say, 300 from the NFL. There's 800 mil, so there's 1.8 mil, bill, sorry. And then you kind of go and, you need 1.2 bill yourself to find it. And between the 30 owners that you've got, I think they could do that quite easily. I think it's just a case of, but then what would you do with, obviously now we're going to need a new training centre, because if you get rid of Ashburn,
that's it.
Where are you going with that? So would you go, well, actually, we own the land on Maryland, where the stadium is. Do you knock that down and create it into an actual, hub with the training facility as well? Because
that is exactly my thoughts. Is that exactly what I would do? Yeah, 100%.
I was thinking that as well, because the land's already owned. They already got that land. And I know Maryland are going to be unhappy that if we leave, because that obviously they miss out on money. So to make them happier, I know someone mentioned a while back about maybe that site could be, like museums, or
it could still be, though. You could
have that, but along with an actual real training complex, like the top of the range.
Yeah, you could make that like almost like the Star that they've got in Dallas. Do you know what I mean? That is pretty awesome when you look at their stadium, at their training facilities. That's kind of how you want to go. But again, that's costing money, Scouse. So where do you win here? Do you know what I mean? It's a tough situation, but
and it needs a lot of workers to build all these things, knock down.
But you're also gaining the local economy in both areas, then, aren't you? So economically, you could say, well, hold on, we might need some money from the Maryland government to give us, to help build that. So there's ways and means of doing things. And
I do think if that was the case, obviously, I think Maryland, we've heard about 400 million. Been offered something like that, but that's for a new stadium and the team staying there.
Exactly, yeah.
It's going to be at best half of that. At best, if you say,
absolute best.
Training facility with some bits around it and museums and whatever to get people to go there still. But yeah, man, I can't see them throwing loads of money at that themselves.
No, but you could also sell off some of that land as well, because you think about the actual size of the stadium. I mean, how big do you? Yeah, that's what I mean. How big do you need? You know what I mean? If you kept half that car park and then you just did the stadium up, if you like, into a training complex, the rest of it, all the other lots. I mean, how much housing can you put on there?
Yeah, that's the same though. It technically could be prime land. There's a lot of houses around there. That's one thing, isn't it? I mean, there's nothing there, as in for a fan to do, but it's not
the nicest place in the world, is it? But you know what I mean.
Isn't it? It's like people live there, So
yeah, I know.
and you can definitely get those. you could definitely sell that land off and easily make houses on it for sure. And I'm sure Maryland would be quite happy to use that land for that too. So, especially if you've got something there, like say a museum or a training complex, which would still some diehard Commanders fans or Redskins fans might actually want to buy a house just because it's so close to the actual training ground. You know what I mean?
And you got to think businesses would go there too. So you're going to have your usual, fast food eateries. You're going to have shops. You're going to have other bits and pieces in and around it because they're going to need to be there to service what is going on in there.
I always think about Maryland of like letting us down over the years. Now I understand the kind of the Fan Snyder problem. I understand that. I understand why Maryland didn't want to give any money out to us and didn't want to build anything around the stadium. Because obviously the guys are belling, right? Well, we know that. Mm-hmm. But the thing is that what you got to think about is that Snyder neglected the team, but I think Maryland neglected us as well. I really do, because they didn't create shit. They didn't create shit for us. We've been there since 1990, whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like I can't remember exactly what I think it was, 99, 98, something like that.
Yeah, 99. Yeah, I think.
Where's the shops? Where's the hotels around the place? There was nothing built at the time, and nothing was ever built. So it's like, well, and now all of a sudden, Maryland want to come to the table with 400 mil to say, yeah, we can, if you stay here, we can help with the new stadium, and we can, build a complex around it. Well, where the fuck was that before? See what I mean? Like, there wasn't even any talks of it. Never mind it going through.
Yeah, so, I think that I don't lump that at all on Maryland. I lump that all on our previous owner.
Yeah, I understand. I understand that, but the thing is, though, there should have been something like at the start. Maybe Maryland should say, "Well, yeah, you've come to our area, which is great. Let's do something for you." Because at the time, that's
down to Jack. That's down to Jack Kent Cooke, though, isn't it? Then.
Yeah, well, I mean, at the time, Snyder, when he first got in, you think that he was a good owner because he just made it. He got through all the contests or whatever the hell they do to you're viable as a good owner, etc. So I like to think that, well, why didn't Maryland do something at the very start of the Snyder era, if that makes sense? They didn't do anything.
I don't know.
So I mean, of course we don't know, but it just pisses me off. It's like, well, now you're coming back crawling, saying that you want us to be here long term and there's money towards it and this and that the other. And it's like, well, where was the stuff before? Like, did Maryland actually offer $200 million to re-renovate the stadium right now? No. They haven't done anything. See what I mean? So I think like that we should leave them in the dust. To be honest, but that's just my thought.
The old fit and proper person's test.
Yeah, that really worked well, didn't it?
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, well, we'll move on to our next point then. So we have to get to it. Myles Garrett and Cooper Kupp both want trades. Now we've seen various media outlets. What's it called? Rodeo Row, I think it is. Radio Row, even down at the Super Bowl in New Orleans, had Myles Garrett on yesterday, and obviously he was laughing and joking when they said, would you go to the Commanders? And he was like, oh yeah, they need a defensive end, and I'm still in my prime. And right, we saw the trade come out, or the trade request to say, I want to go. Now the problem you have with Cleveland is they're in cap space hell because of the Deshaun Watson trade, and they're all the contract for Deshaun Watson. And Myles Garrett has a lot of contract still left. Now, we've had a couple of questions on this as well, but I'll just read you his contract. So at the moment, he's contracted to earn in 2025 $19.7 million. And then in 2026, he's due $20.3 million. Then he also has 4 void years on the end of his contract. And in them 4 void years, there is approximately $30 million being paid, $30 million being paid over signing bonuses, etc. That's just been kind of pushed down the end of the road to try and make a bit of cap here and there. Obviously, Myles Garrett, I mean, first off, would you trade for him?
Yes.
There you go. That's an easy answer. Absolutely, I would too. I mean, they've got a couple of questions here. So Yam's first one and Commander Viscounts is very similar, but I'll read them both and we'll touch on it rather than go through them individually. Yam says, if you were AP, what would you be willing to give up for Garrett? And if possible, could you bring Denzel Ward with him since he wants out too? And then Commander Viscounts, who is at John Bowden Grace on Twitter, he says, Myles, he's going to cost a lot of draft capital, whoever takes him, and will cost a lot of cap to restructure. Perhaps a 4-year, $140 million deal at what point does this become unaffordable and not worth it if you are in AP's shoes? So we've got it from both sides here. So Commander Viscount, I mean, I'm assuming he'd be absolutely delighted if we got him, but he's saying, when does it become unaffordable? And Yam's saying, what would you give up for Myles Garrett?
Yeah, I mean, it's like anything, isn't it? You know, how cash rich are your owners? How desperate they are to make it work? You know, if you've got guys, you know, if you've got a guy, like an owner who could just throw, say, a nice, fat, huge signing on bonus at the start, then you can make any cap work. You know, no matter how expensive he technically is. You know, you're mentioning, Garrett. There's 30 million in back, in back taxes that basically is owed in void years, which obviously that will still hit the Browns, but wouldn't hit us if we traded for him. You know, so it's just a case of what would I get? Would I sign him? Yes. What would you give up for him? I'd give up, even though I wouldn't like to, but I would go up to 2 firsts for him. But again, he will need to renegotiate his contract anyway. He's got no more guaranteed money left on his deal. So, which means that it all depends what he wants, because he's telling the people that he wants to leave Cleveland because he wants to win. Okay, well, if he wants to win, well, you should take a slight, I'm not saying ridiculous discount, but just like a reasonable contract, if that makes sense, for someone of his ability. And I would say he is elite. He's elite pass rusher. So he should get paid elite money, but he shouldn't be trying to say, well, I want to be the highest paid. I want to be better than, more than the Bosa's or more than whoever. It's like, if you want to win, help the team out a bit as well. And I think...
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
That's what I always call it the Patriots discount. You know, when the Patriots were kicking out for years, players were signing for him for like dirt cheap. You're thinking, what's going on? And because they wanted to go somewhere where they could win. I think Myles should do the same thing. Now, again, as I say, if you give a big load, if you front load his contract with cash rich owners, you could make it work, and it wouldn't destroy your cap. So.
No, well, the thing with signing bonuses, which we're talking about there, yes, you need to have the cash up front to pay the signing bonuses, but it does count against the cap signing bonus, but you can evenly spread that out throughout the term. So say you gave a 20 million signing bonus, at signing, that 20 million could go over a 4-year contract. So you're only giving away 5.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of where we are with it. I don't disagree with Commander Viscount's, where he's thinking. He's saying 140 mil. I mean, I'm looking at the edge rushers right now.
Is that 35 mil a year? 4 years? Did he say 4 years?
4 years, yeah.
So that's 35 mil on average. Which
so I'm looking.
Go on, mate. Sorry,
mate. I'm looking at this now. Nick Bosa got 170 mil. With a 34 a year average. Then it's Josh Hines-Allen, who is 141, and he was 28.2 a year. Then it's Brian Burns, 28.2, TJ Watts on 28 mil, and then Myles Garrett's next, and he's already averaging at 25 mil a year. So realistically, even if he took a little bit of a discount, as you said, he's probably going to want to be around in between Josh Hines-Allen and Brian Burns. So you're probably looking at about 27.5. Is kind of whereabouts you're looking at.
Technically, that would be a natural increase in his wages. What he's got.
Yeah, of course it would. But I don't think he would come and accept the current 25 mil he's on.
No, he probably would.
What's the point? What's the point of using?
He doesn't want 35 because that's 35 is number one paid. And if you want to win, you don't go, I want to be the number one paid. Do you? I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, if I understand you want to get paid what you're going to get paid, but you normally can't have it both ways. Very rare that you can say I want to be highest paid and I want to win. It's very rare that you can get away with that, and I don't think Garrett could do that. I don't think he's in that. I don't think he's got the leverage to do that. Do you know what I mean?
I think we sign him to. If we were to get him, I think you'd go for a 5-year deal, but the 5th year is just a void year. Yeah, for signing bonuses, whatever. Yeah, he is 30. So obviously, Yeah, there's that issue as well. So realistically, you want to get out of this deal after about 3 years. It's kind of where you want to be. Right, we can cut ties here. So I'm looking at that and saying you probably want to be spending about 130, yeah, 138 mil is kind of whereabouts. So you're not far off Commander Viscount. I think you're kind of bang on there with what you were suggesting. What would I give up for him? Scouts, I'd give up 2 first rounders, especially if you're thinking of where you want to give up. I mean, realistically, now we've set the standard. You want to have your pick next year start with a 3. In the first round, not a 2. So, I mean, whether we do that or not, but even if it's, let's just say it is in the late 20s, that's 2 first round picks in the end, towards the end of the first round. So 29, and then what else is it? That maybe 29, maybe 28, 27, that sort of range again. Not amazing value in the picks there that you're going to get for the Cleveland Browns. I would also throw John Allen in the trade, mate. I'm not trying to be rude to John Allen, but I mean, I'm not saying that. Yeah,
they need to tackle.
They do, and maybe they need a D tackle, and maybe you go to it and you say, well, hold on a minute, we can get rid of 16 million against our cap right now, which is what John Allen is due to be paid in 2024. He has no guaranteed money. We have an out right now. If we cut him, we get 10 mil back. And it doesn't make a difference whether he's a post-June first cut or he's a cut right now. You're saving yourself 10 million against the cap. So why wouldn't you just say, well, okay, Cleveland, we'll give you John Allen and we'll give you 2 first rounders, but we want a 5th back or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Or a 6th. So you give us Myles Garrett and a 6th, and we'll give you John Allen and 2 first rounders. And I honestly think that could work. We are the number 1 destination against the bookies. We're the number 1 destination on all the talking heads everywhere that are saying that Myles Garrett should come to. And I don't disagree with that. I think Dan Quinn in this system, with him as the reigning defensive player of the year, let's not forget that this guy has a Hall of Fame trajectory. Look at what happened the last time we brought in a Hall of Fame person into the team with Bobby Wagner. I think this works on every level. I really do. I mean, are you all for this? It would be aggressive.
I like where you're coming from. And as I say, if the contract's not ridiculous, as I say, if he doesn't want this to be highest paid the end, then I'm all for it. Because I say you can front load it. You can say that you can do a massive if you really wanted. You could do a massive sign-on bonus, not just 20 mil. You could do whatever money you've got, and you can really help the cap a lot that way. So yeah, man, I'll be all over it. I mean, obviously Peters and his boys will know the right number. That'd be good enough for them and what they'd be happy with and all the rest of it. But yeah, man, you're getting elite right there. And the only way to get better is to go out and get these elite guys when they come along. And after time, they don't come along.
That's the point, mate.
He wants to leave because he's in a bad team. And the defense is not bad over at Cleveland, but the offense is horrible. And to say Watson's ruined it, and obviously his contract as well is not helping either. So,
I 100% agree.
Yeah, man. I mean, with the question with Denzel Ward, throw him in as well. I mean, Denzel Ward is on 20 mil a year. I mean, that's quite a lot.
That's a lot of money.
I'm not saying he's not good and he might not be worth it, but he's his contract won't be. He probably won't be able to get I don't think he'd renegotiate his contract. He's only just got that a couple of years. I think a couple of years ago. Yeah, this is his first year of big time money coming up. At the end of the season, though, they've got a potential out. So maybe next year you might look at getting maybe trading for him after this next year coming up, but. I don't think he'd be part of any deal. I don't think.
So speaking of trades, then we've obviously been heavily linked, and again we're the number 1 destination of the LA Rams for Cooper Kupp from the LA Rams, should I say? Obviously, we've looked at what's been said around that. He's wanting a trade. He's openly come out on social media and said they're seeking a trade right now. Obviously, the Rams have also said that they'll eat a lot of money in his contract, so they're willing to eat 20 million. Of that contract that he's got at the moment. Now, he is due this year 29.7 million, and then next year he's due 27.3 million, which is a ridiculous amount of money, in my opinion, looking at it to pay a wide receiver. I mean, I know that's what the going rate is. It's 30 mil plus now, your Justin Jeffersons, but I'm not trying to be funny here, but this is one I wouldn't go for.
How old is he now? Because age is important for me, when you look at that, like big contracts, you know what I mean?
I don't think it's about age. I think it's about production and also about health.
31
He's fell off this year. He's fell off this year. Big
he's
time.
31. He's going to be 32 in June. So
no,
again,
it's not.
No. I don't like those type of guys coming in. That they might be kind of okay for a year, like the Zach Ertz type thing. But Zach Ertz is cheap money. You know what I mean? Like this guy's not going to be cheap money, and that's why I wouldn't go near it. He would he suit our system? I think he would. I think he's very good at his route running. I think Jaden would like him. But again, his production has fell off a cliff, as you mentioned. But again, that's because of injuries. Well, he's had a lot of injuries. I think it's just caught up with him. I don't think he's at the same level as he was, say, 2-3 years ago, So,
oh, mate, the 2 years ago when he was a 2,000-yard receiver, that was ridiculous. He really was the best in the league.
I mean, I would say the outlier there. You know what I mean? Like one season's like, wow, oh my god. But his body of work has been impressive for most of his career. It's just a case of, let's say, he's getting a bit older. I think the injuries are catching up with him. I don't think, unless he's like, let's say, a really, really, really team-friendly deal, I can't see him getting signed here. Like, to be fair, I don't see any teams trying to go to win would take a chance on him at that kind of money.
Not that kind of money, I think you're right. Especially when you can look to do that in the draft. I mean, your brother here, he says get Mac 2 with Garrett, it'd be great. I absolutely 100% agree with that. I mean, that is one that I would look to do. He's a free agent, but I saw Street Scores Rico. Shout out to Rico. If you haven't subscribed to him, go and do that. He's unbelievable. I saw him come out with the articles I saw as well. We kind of saw it at the same time, saying that you could potentially get Khalil Mack for about $8 million a year. I was like, yeah, sign me up right now. But when you go to places like Spot Track and you load to over the cap and you look at what people's contracts are at and what their market value is, you're talking 20 mil again, Scouse.
Yeah, I mean, and again, how old's Mac nowadays? That's the other thing for me.
32. I think it's 32.
He's only 32. Okay, so I thought he was older.
But the thing is, though, his production hasn't dropped off. That's the difference there.
He's still really good. I mean, I say it's just a case of, for me,
imagine them two bookends, Khalil Mack and Garrett. Yes, please.
He's 33.
Oh, yes. Is he 33? I thought he was 32. Okay.
To be fair, he only got paid last year. Oh no, this year he's worth 8.5 on his contract.
Yeah.
He's still got a contract after year, according to this.
I thought he was a free agent, but maybe.
Oh, it's a void year. Sorry,
that's why. Yeah.
It was an $8 million. He got $25 million the year before them. So
that's what I mean, yeah. So they're saying, obviously, because he got $8 million this year, that's kind of where the talking heads has come from, saying, you can get him for about $8 million. But realistically,
would you take him at $10 million?
Yeah, absolutely, in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat.
Yeah.
In a heartbeat.
I mean, I'd definitely speak to him. Would he want to come here and what's his number, and see.
Yeah, definitely.
See where he's at for sure. Because imagine getting those two. Imagine having Garrett and Matt. As your edge rushers, fuck you know. I mean, that's like 40 sacks between them per year. You know what I mean?
Like, I know. It's stupid, isn't it? It's just stupid.
It would be crazy.
Talking about salary cap and space and all that sort of stuff, we'll go through it. So, the current cap space right now, as it stands, we have $81.3 million in cap space going into this off season, which is the third highest within the NFL as it stands right now. So the NFL cap as a whole in 2023 was set at $224.8 million. In 2024, it went up to $255.4 million. And PFF and the NFL insiders think the cap will rise by around about $15 million this year. So if that's the case, that kind of takes us to $96 million to play with this year. Now, that doesn't mean, before we got John Allen released, before we potentially got rid of Wiley, all them sort of players. So this is where we're going to start. I know. This is where we're going to start. So I've put the question down here on my piece of paper saying, what are you strengthening and what are your thoughts on a free agency? But before we get there, what cuts are you making to this team, potentially? What are the cuts you're looking at and going, oh shit, yeah, I've got a cut there.
I think unfortunately John Allen's the first name on the list.
Just
You've
because
got
that
to
contract's so big.
just because of that contract situation. I don't think he's playing up to that kind of 18, 20 mil a year level, which is what you expect from the guy. On that kind of corn, you expect him to be doing a lot more than he has been. I think he's a bit of a fake leader as well, being honest with you. I think he's like...
I know what you mean.
You know what I mean about that?
He's a rah-rah guy, but he's just...
he doesn't really have real substance to his leadership, you know? So I think he'll be first out the door. As a via a trade or just cut, I think he's gone. I think he's done in DC, being honest. I say for me, you know what, my feelings about Wiley, I think even the next guy being cut, but then
that's 10 million.
We still
no, it would be 6. That'd be 6 mil we'd save against the cap if he goes.
Yeah.
So that's straight away with them two players gone, you're saving yourself 16 million, which is a lot of money. You know, that is a lot of money to deal with.
110, something like that, with the increase.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, I'd say, you know, I know we got to sign a lot of players. Now we're still going to re-sign a lot of players, you know. But for me, I'm all for it. I'm all for getting rid of those two, and I'm looking at drafting a tackle. That's what I'm looking for.
Yep, I am too.
Because there's no tackles out there really that are going to be worth the money as such. I mean, Cam Robinson, you might think, yeah, okay, you know, Ronnie Stanley, okay.
Yeah, that's who I'd look at. I'd look at Ronnie Stanley at left. I mean, we had a bit of a strange discussion in our WhatsApp chat, and I mean, I'm happy to go through it. I mean, I broke it right down into odd detail, and Scouse was reading an essay thinking, my God, Scott, are you ever going to shut up? But yeah, I absolutely love it, and I've kind of gone into where I want to be with stuff.
You love a fake contract idea, don't you?
I do. I love a fake contract. Ronnie Stanley, you're looking at 17 mil a year, so I'd give him a 2-year deal, 34 mil, fully guaranteed, 20 mil signing bonus. So you're looking at a cap cost of about 7 mil, which is easy. I'd look to try and sign James Daniels from Pittsburgh, who's a right guard, because we've got a hole at right guard now because of obviously the injury to Sam Cosmi. So he's going to be a fairly cheap one, but he's a starter. He's productive. He's not missed a game in 3 years. So for me, you know, that's a very easy sign in that, and it isn't going to cost you a lot of money either. I want to sign DJ Reed desperately as an outside corner, so you can move Mikey Samarstill back into the nickel position, and then you've got a backfield of, hopefully if you re-sign Jeremy Chin as well, you've got Quan Martin, Jeremy Chin, you've got Marshawn Lattimore, DJ Reed on the outside, and then in the nickel you've got Mikey Samarstill. That's lockdown. Then if we're talking about Khalil Mack and stuff.
Just before to get on to the next bit, it's just a case of you do need depth at corner as well. So
absolutely. Yeah, I agree. So you can draft
Noah I? Do you re-sign
him? Yes, I would.
You would? You re-sign him, and what would you do then? Would you have him as a starter, or would you have him as the backup piece?
I'd have him as a backup.
Because the problem is, you're going to keep messing around with Samarstill. Like, yeah, are you going to play inside? Are you going to play outside? Yeah, can he do both? Yeah, sure. But it's a case of, you know, you should really want to be focusing them on one position. Do you know what I mean? Like, kind of.
So I would put Samarstill in the inside again, which is what he was drafted to do. And then I would say, right, you go and do that. And you sign yourself an outside corner who's going to do that straight away. One receiver who I think is better than the receivers we've had now. Would I give De'Ami Brown a contract? Probably. Yeah. You know what I mean? Still probably
not
would.
Wide receiver 2 money though.
No chance. Nowhere near. Wide receiver 2, that is probably one of the positions I don't think we're going to get this season right, unless we make a splash somewhere along the line and we don't get a Garrett. So you may end up getting a T. Higgins, for example, something like that. Ideally, yeah, I'd love to do that, but you're going to have no cap space back, massive contracts, and it's going to be a nightmare in 2 or 3 years' time. I think Nick Westbrook-Akine, man, as a wide receiver 3, is a brilliant find. He's a free agent in the summer, scored a lot of points this year, got quite a lot of touchdowns as well. Sure hands.
To be fair, he can, because of injuries. He became wide receiver 1
at Tennessee. He did, yeah, absolutely, yeah. And you know, he was decent.
I think he could be a solid wide receiver 2.
Not a 2. I think there's the 3. I think he's a 3 there.
I think it could be a 2.
I agree. I understand where you're coming from.
He was wide receiver 1, and he was burning teams when he was getting double coveraged a lot as well.
Yeah,
a lot because, you know, when you're looking at Tennessee, it was kind of like, well, who's getting their touchdowns? It was Westbrook Akine. That's who it was. There was nobody else getting them because he couldn't do shit. They were awful on offense, but he was their only outlet, and teams knew that he was their outlet, and he still did okay. You know what I mean? He still did quite well. So I can see him definitely a solid wide receiver too.
So where are you wanting to strengthen in free agency then? Before we get into drafting, where are you looking at straight away?
Well, as you mentioned, if you're looking at free agency, I'm looking at a corner. So I'm looking at let's say a DJ Reed.
Is that your number one position, or are you looking at O line?
That's my number one position besides edge. But he's not. But when you're talking about free agency, we're talking about trades. See what I mean?
Free agency, yeah.
I'm looking at free agency. I'm looking to trade for Garrett. You know what I mean? So
I'm looking to trade for Garrett too. Yeah, absolutely.
For me, I'm looking at the corner. The good corners tend to go very quickly in free agency if there's any. So first round they tend to be gone. Usually the good ones. So for me, he's definitely on my number one or number two list. Like right up there. I'm definitely looking at the O-line. Because it's slim pickings in free agency. I mean, what do you do, man? I mean, it's so difficult because Wiley's like, he's just average at best. But then, is there anything better out there in free agency right now?
The guy. I'm drafting a right tackle in the second round.
Or if it's kind of.
I'd take Lucas back. I'd re-sign Trent Scott. I know it's not sexy, but you've got a bit to go with there. Algretti is going to be a depth piece rather than a starter. If you get Stanley,
aren't you? You're looking at
Stanley. and I'm kicking Brandon Coleman inside and putting him as a left guard. And then that strengthens up that left-hand side, which was a bit of a problem last year. It wasn't the right-hand side; it was the left-hand side of the line that was getting dominated.
I always think of it as like that. JD could see a lot better on the right-hand side. That's why he could get out of the way.
I know, maybe, but then you've also got. I mean,
well, let's be honest. He wasn't good for the last 6-7 years.
No, he wasn't. The only lineman that we know is actually really good and can keep his place is Tyler Biadasz. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, man. I mean, anything else could go really on that line. Being honest,
it's gonna be tough, isn't it? I mean, I'm having a look here at who's in the free agency tracker. I mean, like you said, Cam Robinson. You're not going to really get him. Carlton Davis is probably the next one.
$20 million a year, like you're saying there. You're not going to pay that kind of corn for one of those guys. I mean, Stanley you might do. He's still only 30, I think, Stanley. So he's still right in his prime, but I wouldn't be looking.
Yeah, I mean, there's no one else out there. I mean, let's have a look at right tackle.
Again, that's valid. Put Wiley into guard while Cosme heals, and then get a tackle in the draft. I mean, I'm definitely looking at a tackle in the draft, 100%, man. I think it's a desperate position of need.
I mean, Mekhi Becton's a free agent over at the Eagles. He's been playing right guard. Never rated that
dude, man. He's just a big man mountain, but he's not good. You know what I mean? And I don't want him. So that's what I'm saying. It's slim pickings out there, really, on the O-line.
It is.
In free agency. So you've got a draft. So you might have to keep Wiley this year, even though I don't like the $10 million that he's earning.
It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money, isn't it?
For a guy who's bang av, so it's painful. It's going to be painful, but I think they probably will keep him on the board. But I'd be looking at cutting him, personally. But if you can't get anybody better, you might have to keep him for his $10 million, just bite the bullet, But yeah, I'm definitely looking at a tackle in the draft. I mean, I'd say if you can get a Stanley as well, then that'd be nice, because you can put Coleman into the guard, and I think he'd be really good left guard. I really do think he would be good there. But again, it's one of them things, isn't it? It's kind of that's why it's so interesting, isn't it? Well, it's so interesting.
It is, and I think what we should do is I think we should do a proper deep dive into free agency and a deep dive into the draft. We'll get further into the draft as we get closer to it. We'll have a few mock drafts, etc., going on, and we'll look at that because you hate it. I know you hate it, but I love it. So there you go. But we'll keep the mic rolling. But I think let's do a bit of homework for next week, then, Scouse, and we'll look primarily at positions of need. We'll come up with a plan on what you want to do and what I would like to do. And we won't necessarily pick players, but we'll look at the positions of need and where we think we could fill it, and we'll go for that. I think that just about does us, mate, to be fair. All the questions that have come in, we appreciate everybody in the chat. Ian, Jesse, Cam was in here earlier, so appreciate you all being with us. Don't forget to like and subscribe on the channel. It is free, it costs nothing. And shout out to a guy called Matthew, who I met at work today, who is a Commanders fan. First time I've ever met him. So I was wearing my Commanders beanie, and he was like, "Oh, Commanders fan." So shout out to him if he's watching.
Hey, I'm going to call him out. Where is he in the?
He's probably in
the chat there. You know. Yeah, man, I'm just not impressed if he's a new fan. He should be watching the last couple of years, shouldn't he? Really?
Religious. Maybe he's in the back catalogue, Scouts. I don't know.
Maybe.
But yeah, man. But that just about does us, mate. Thanks for being with me, as always. I really enjoy the show. And we will try and keep the mic rolling as much as we possibly can. There might be a couple of times during the off-season where we'll go every fortnight or so, or it might even be a little bit later, depending on what we're doing. But thanks, as always, everyone, for joining us, and we will see you again next week.
Bye.